Those were the last chimes from Big Ben. For the rest of today, this world-famous clock will mark the hours, but remain silent. And in a huge oaken coffin, the body of Winston Churchill is borne, surmounted by Union Jack, by collar, star, and garter, for his funeral service. Pipes sound their last cry across the river. The guns nearby sound 19 guns in salute. The first time that a commoner has ever been given more than 17 guns. A special salute to him. With this song, on his journey upstream.
Here's to him.
Amen. Astonishing how all those others seem to have aged, whereas you and I, give or take a wrinkle or two, remain precisely the same.
And that's an optical illusion, I suppose.
What is?
Well, your midsection's a trifle more imposing.
Belts do shrink with age, you know.
And men grow?
It happens. Didn't used to be Sir William Stevenson either, as I recall. This really is the end of the war, isn't it? We're into some new time now, some new era.
Oh, I don't mind that. Let the young men have a go at it. That's fine, but it's the children, Evan. The children don't seem to know. This morning, on the way to the church, there was a little boy, and he asked me who died. When I said it was Winston Churchill, he said, "Oh, yes. Wasn't he the best goalkeeper that Manchester United ever had?"
The children don't know because the parents don't know. Not what really happened.
How are we going to tell the children what it was really like then?
We read all about it. Fact signed in building. Chamberlain returns. Facing our time, says Prime Minister. There, get your morning paper here. All the latest news in the morning paper. Step up and get your morning paper. There's a library just down the street, Gov.
I don't think they'd have anything as imaginative as this.
Yeah, well, who'd know better than the Prime Minister what's going on?
The next Prime Minister.
As agreed to in the Munich Pact, German troops today marched into Sudetenland. They were met by the Czechs, who lined the streets quietly as the German forces moved in.
Mr. William Stevenson to see you, sir.
No. Ah, Mr. Stevenson, good of you to come at such short notice. I appreciate it.
No inconvenience. I'm delighted to meet you.
You know Colonel Gubbins of the Royal Artillery?
Oh, yes, I think we met last March in Munich.
Good to see you again. Mr. Stevenson, this will be either a very brief or very long meeting, depending on the answers you give to two questions. Now, both the questions and the answers will be held in confidence by all three of us here, regardless of the nature of your replies.
I understand and I agree.
It is my considered opinion that war with Nazi Germany is now inevitable. Hitler is embarked on a lunatic course aimed at total world domination. Austria and Czechoslovakia have already been gobbled up, and more European countries will surely follow, and possibly even our own. All stepping stones to the one supreme prize, the United States of America. Now, what are your feelings about that?
I think you're absolutely correct.
Further, it is my feeling, believing this to be true, that a policy of inaction on my part would be demonstrably insane.
A policy? That's surely rather a strange word coming from a man who's out of power, with all due respect.
With all due respect, Mr. Stevenson, I may be out of office. I am not out of power. There are also dissenting voices, and among those voices is President Roosevelt's. He shares my views on Hitler's plans and wants to help us in every way possible.
But surely the United States would be neutral.
Quite so, which will make your job very difficult.
My job? What's my job?
To establish a headquarters for international espionage and underground fighters in New York City. You will work with Bill Donovan, Roosevelt's chief advisor.
I take it all this will be done in the strictest secrecy.
Oh, yes, of course. You see, President Roosevelt does not wish to be impeached, and there's every likelihood that that is exactly what might happen should any of this come to light.
Is that port in that decanter?
Yes. Help yourself if you want it. He has.
And you, sir?
Yes, please.
If you're doing all this independently, who pays?
The first thing that recommended you to me for this post was your intelligence. Secondly, your patriotism. The fact that you're a wealthy man was a distant third. Not a totally unimportant third at that, however.
I see.
You won't be alone. Colonel Gubbins is paying his expenses to Czechoslovakia.
Why is Colonel Gubbins going to Czechoslovakia? If I may ask.
If you are with us, yes, you may ask.
Why is Colonel Gubbins going to Czechoslovakia?
Tell him.
The Czech resistance has started a series of hit-and-run attacks on the German truck convoys.
To what end?
Well, to the end that there are so many random attacks, they won't get suspicious about the one that really matters.
What will this one particular convoy carry?
Excuse me.
Oh. The Enigma cipher machine.
Oh, you know about it?
Yes, we use these in my companies towards the end of the 20s.
Oh, well, that's the commercial model. There's a military version going into high production at the Skoda works in Czechoslovakia. More complex, more sophisticated. Now, the Germans will be basing their military codes and communications on the Enigma code. We want to get one of these machines.
One. Next.
sir. Sir, here is the suitcase you checked in with me yesterday.
Mr. Forrester? Mr. Forrester. I'm William Stevenson of Commonwealth Industries. 3 days ago, I contracted with your firm for the rental and delivery of furniture for our offices here in Rockefeller Plaza. So far, not a great deal has arrived. I wonder if you... Hold on, please. Can I help you?
No, I can wait. And your furniture's downstairs. It's being unloaded on the street now. I suppose the reason it's late is the FBI needed time to attach listening devices to some of the items being delivered.
Are you there, Mr. Forrester? There's been some misunderstanding. I've just been informed that the furniture is being unloaded right now as we talk. That is correct. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Well, you're William Donovan.
Bill, you're William Stevenson.
Bill. And incidentally, we shouldn't be meeting here.
There's a first and last. You can count on that.
It looks as though you and I will be counting on each other quite a lot from now on.
I hope we don't fence with each other, Bill. I hope we can very quickly reach the point where we can be as direct and honest and open as possible.
I'm in complete agreement with you.
Predicate our dealings on the following facts. If one word of what you're trying to set up in this country leaks out, if a newspaper or radio reporter finds out, if J. Edgar Hoover gets wind of the slightest cooperation from the White House, if any of these facts become public knowledge, there's ample reason to believe that a bill of impeachment will be drawn and President Roosevelt removed from office.
That's quite some risk he's running.
Most assuredly is.
But then we're all running a risk these days.
You mean the world?
I do.
More so from your standpoint than ours. I'm afraid the majority of my countrymen aren't exactly convinced they have to get involved in any conflict over there.
And how do you feel about that? You personally, I mean.
If there's any way to stay out, I'd support it. I don't think there is. I think that Nazi... I think he's going to drag us into it. And there's no way to avoid it. Given that, the best we can do is get ready.
You're rather a reluctant ally.
When you can find a man eager to go to war, you let me know. I'll notify the asylum he's escaped.
Yes?
Pardon me, is this where the furniture will be coming in?
That's right.
It's on the way up in the freight elevator right now. Won't be long.
Thank you.
I'll be in D.C. next week. Call me at this number.
Oh, I won't be here next week. I have to get back to London to take a look at a new piece of hardware.
Oh, that's some trustworthy building. That's all you can tell me, a new piece of hardware.
We've managed to get our hands on the military version of the Enigma cipher machine. Trust enough?
Trust enough. Now remember, Bill, your phones might just as well belong to Mr. Hoover.
In here, Joe.
Hi, I'm here from the phone company. I'm here to set up your phones.
From the phone company?
Yes, sir. Where would you like them?
Help yourself.
Thanks.
Cold, damp, and miserable, but it's good to be back.
Were you busy on the other side?
I spent half my time dodging FBI agents, and the rest of it with Bill Donovan trying to figure out just how far Roosevelt can go without getting himself into irreversible trouble with the American people.
Why can't Roosevelt tell this Hoover chap just to look the other way? I mean, is Hoover some kind of government unto himself?
You said that, I didn't. Who's that?
That's a security guard. From now on until we reach Bletchley Park, everybody you see will be part of the security force.
Here, let me take those. I'll get somebody else to pick them up.
Monitoring foreign broadcasts, mostly German. Since he sent his troops into the Sudetenland, the activity's been enormous. And ominous.
How many do you have working here altogether?
On the grounds? Oh, about 300.
That's it. The Enigma cipher machine.
Cost a man's life to obtain it.
I know. Did you see the report from the cryptologists?
No, I haven't read it yet. It's on my desk.
I asked them for an estimate of how long it would take to break the German code without the use of one of these things as a working model. And they said, and this was the minimum, mark you, at the rate of one computation a minute, at least 3,000 years. Whew. Let's see if I can remember how the first line works on this thing. Now, look. You take down the letters that come up here, and I press the buttons.
Had any contact with the old man yet?
Yes. He thinks that if Hitler makes one more move and Chamberlain doesn't react with strength, that Chamberlain will be forced to step down and he, Winston Churchill, will become Prime Minister and be asked by the King to form a new government. Oh, at which point, by the way, you will get a new name.
Mother won't like that. She's rather fond of gubbins.
No, a code name. Winston's very fond of code names.
What names are given you?
Well, for reasons that escape me, I am Winston Churchill's man, Intrepid. Now, read that out.
Well, it's gibberish.
Right. I put the gibberish there. I will type out the gibberish, and you take down the letters that now come up there. Now.
The English are like a family with the wrong members of that family in control. Amazing.
I am speaking to you in the cabinet room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
right, cut it. That's a print. Next setup over here, boys.
Check the gate.
Right, lads, we're over there.
All right, bring it through here and this way. Oh, gentlemen, I'm afraid you're in the shop. May I ask you to move, unless, of course, you'd prefer to put on period costume?
Making movies. Seen enough?
I think so, Alec. I've seen enough swordplay, anyway. I'd still like to meet some of your people.
You don't mean actors, I hope.
No, I mean the ones who make cardboard look like stone and canvas look like sky, and the ones with initiative.
You mean like the young man who just threw us off the set?
Tell me about him.
He's going to be one of the best in the business. Frankly, I would hate to let him go. From the little you have just told me, Bill, he is just what you want. Shall we go to the office?
May the Great Spirit paint your day with rainbow colors.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Mr. Tolson just called. He's on his way. He'll be a few minutes late.
Oh, thank you. Hello, Bill. How are you?
Mr. Hoover? I'm just fine, thank you. It's nice to see you. Can I buy you a drink?
No, thanks. It's still good. What brings you down from Washington?
Oh, you know, the usual. Congressman to placate here, senator to flatter there. Comes with the territory.
Your territory cover Canada?
Afraid I don't follow what you mean.
There's a Canadian gentleman by the name of William Stevenson. You know him?
Stevenson with a V or a PH?
PH.
Guy who goes to all the international air races?
Yes.
Yeah. I've met him once or twice.
Oh, I think you might have met him more than that, Mr. Donovan.
Why would it concern you if I had, Mr. Hoover?
Ambassador Kennedy has told the Bureau that this Stevenson is quite close to Churchill. That Stevenson might be using his personal wealth in a manner that could jeopardize this country's neutrality.
I'll be sure to tell the President how diligent Ambassador Kennedy has been on our behalf.
Now, it seems to me all the ambassador's doing is making sure we don't get dragged into war.
And I take it you are warning me about any further contact with this Mr. Stevenson. That's the point of our little chat, is it?
You are the President's closest advisor, Mr. Donovan. Like Caesar's wife, you have to be above suspicion. You have to avoid even the appearance of wrongdoing. Any contact with Stevenson could be misinterpreted.
Just who are you concerned about, Mr. Hoover? The President or me?
Neither. I'm concerned that the United States of America might get involved in a war it has no business being involved in. And if Stevenson, or anyone else, is violating this country's Neutrality Act, and I find out about it...
Go on. This is fascinating.
I will take appropriate action.
I am certain that the President will rest easier, knowing how you and Ambassador Kennedy are looking out for his interests so zealously.
Excuse me, sir. Mr. Tolson's here.
Yes, I'll be right along.
The bloody war's here, and if it's got to be, then I want to be in it, not cheering people on from the sidelines.
You won't be cheering people on from the sidelines.
Yes, you keep telling me that, but will I be in combat? No, you say I will not. Well, forgive me, Mr. Stevenson. Combat is either in the front lines or behind the enemy lines. It's not behind the scenes in England or United States or Canada, for heaven's sake, doing you dare not tell me what.
We've learned a great deal about you, about your background, your education, your Norwegian mother, and so on. I never realized you were such a self-centered young man.
What do you mean?
You look upon war as something glamorous, and you see yourself as a hero sitting up on a big white horse. The only important thing about any war is to get it over as quickly as possible and with the minimum number of casualties.
Yes, and I am a young man. I ought to be in the thick of it, for God's sake.
If you feel this strongly about it, why are you still working in a film studio? Waiting to be called up your age group? You can volunteer for active service any time you like, you know.
I hate to spoil your day, but I did just that only last week.
Which outfit?
Royal Marines. Expect to be called up any moment.
Well done. Well, obviously, I can't persuade you that the job I need you for is far more important than being one of thousands. But suppose the powers that be come to the same conclusion and you find yourself being ordered to go to Canada. Would you accept that gracefully?
No, it's pretty obvious you're going to pull some strings. So what can I do about it? I suppose I'll have to accept, but not gracefully and not for long.
Same again. That'll be it down there. Camp X? All that area. Miles from anywhere, but near enough to the border to get our logistical support from the States.
Well, how can they support us? They're not at war.
Certain arrangements have been made. We'll be able to train our people down there without anyone knowing, particularly Mr. Hoover. Now, I think we should have the main barracks up there, and down here we can put all the training facilities, the classrooms and so on.
Mr. Stevenson, I think I should tell you. I'm not an architect.
Oh, I know that. The architects arrive tomorrow. Your job is to make sure that nobody can see what they're building.
Hmm?
This whole thing has to be completely invisible from the air. You can do that, can't you?
I suppose so.
Well, don't suppose. If you can do it, say so. If you can't do it, tell me that. I'll get somebody who can.
Mr. Stevenson, sir.
Yes?
Radio relay, sir. Hitler's gone into Norway.
Do you think this will do it?
Now, Chamberlain will have to resign.
And?
Winston Churchill will be our man.
Hitler plans occupation of both Denmark and Norway to ensure their neutrality.
One of these dislodged from the cavity of a tooth will kill within 15 to 20 seconds.
Swallow one of these, and then in 15 seconds...
No, not just swallow. I mean, as long as you don't bite into it, it'll pass harmlessly through the system in the normal course of events. However, if you do bite into it, if it breaks, then the normal course of event ends in 15 seconds.
So we must avoid agents who grind their teeth at night.
So, anything else I can bring you up to date on?
Yes. Now, if I've read this correctly, there's an eminent professor who's working on a high explosive that looks like cow dung.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, soldiers tend not to tread in cow dung.
Ah, but not tanks. It's meant as an anti-vehicle device, not anti-personnel.
An explosive that looks like cow dung?
Well, that's the idea, yeah.
Tank rolls down the road. Little plop-plops of... And up goes the tank, right?
Yes.
My compliments to Professor Huxley. Anything else?
Ah, yes, two things. Number one. First, a name keeps cropping up in the communiques that we're intercepting from Berlin.
What name is that?
A professor. by the name of Niels Bohr.
Niels Bohr? I never heard of him.
He's a scientist of some sort. Anyway, I've got our people checking on it.
Scientist of some sort? What sort?
Probably won't mean any more to you than it does to me.
Tell me anyway.
Well, he's supposed to be a leading expert in some sort of speciality.
Gubbins, a leading expert in some speciality, a scientist of some sort. Now, codes are all very fine, but not when you're talking to me.
Well, his speciality is nuclear fission. Something?
Could conceivably be something, yes. Keep a good eye on the whereabouts of this Professor Niels Bohr. It might be quite important.
Done.
Anything else?
Ah, yes, second thing. Something I'd like to show you.
All right.
Hope you're impressed, because that's why I brought you here.
You'll be lucky if you get 5 out of a whole lot. That dark girl in the middle facing this way, who's she?
Her name's Noor Inayat Khan. Indian background, spent most of her childhood in France. Speaks 7 languages perfectly.
Save yourself some trouble. Get rid of her.
Why? She's one of the best we've found so far.
Because she's too attractive, that's why. Once seen, she won't be forgotten. It's not the best qualification for a spy.
Well, I'll ask her to put on 50 pounds and tell her to get her hair cut.
I'm not joking.
Neither am I. Look, it's tough enough finding people with enough guts, brains, courage to take on this kind of risk without chucking away the best of them because of personal appeal.
The point is...
Probably 3 or 4 of them will wash out during the process of this course. Now, of the ones remaining, life expectancy, once dropped in enemy territory, a little more than 6 months.
Now, those 2 facts alone make it hard enough to find people. I don't need extra criteria for rejecting anybody, particularly somebody who shows some promise.
All right, but it's your responsibility, but I still think you're wrong.
I'll accept the consequences.
You won't. She will.
This nation will remain a neutral nation, but I cannot ask that every American remain neutral in thought as well. Even a neutral has a right to take account of facts. Even a neutral cannot be asked to close his mind or to close his conscience.
Did you have a good trip? Any new developments?
Things are nearing completion in Canada. We're sending the first group in next week.
Anything you want me to do at this end?
We need planes.
Planes? Why?
For parachute training.
How many?
5. No, 3.
Do you have any idea how we're going to make 3 United States Army Air Force transports simply disappear?
Yeah. It's very simple. Your Army Air Corps, to lessen the burden on the American taxpayer, decides to run paint durability tests for aircraft. So you paint these 3 transport planes with different kinds of paint. Then you leave them in a certain place, very deserted place, on the Canadian border that I happen to know about. Leave them there for 1 year in the elements, to find out what happens to the paint.
And a year later, we come back.
And they'll be in exactly the same place.
But if we come back a day before the year is up?
Well, that might be unfortunate, because you could be out 3 planes. But only for one day.
They'll always be in England.
I hope you're right.
Adolf Hitler announced to the world his intention to intensify the air and naval war against the English homeland. Luftwaffe aircraft made bombing sorties both day and night in all weathers, while the English, helped by radar, managed to bring down 45 German aircraft while losing 13 of their own.
Come and get your bag.
Some of those, please. Excuse me. Hello. Do you mind if I sit here?
Of course not.
I can see you're not much of a fan of our bangers. Sausages.
Oh, no, I don't eat meat.
Oh, a vegetarian?
Yes.
Really? Strange.
Why?
Oh, it's just that vegetarians have this sort of reputation for being odd ducks. Oh, no offense, ma'am.
None meant, none taken.
I'm Evan McCallion.
Nice to meet you, Mr. McCallion.
You're not going to tell me your name?
No, I'm not.
May one ask why?
I don't know who you are. We were all given code names when we started into this course. It's possible you're supposed to know who I am, and it's possible you're not supposed to know who I am, and until I know which it is, we'll leave it at nice to meet you, Mr. McCallion.
Oh, this is silly. I'm an instructor here. I'm entitled to know.
Mr. McCallion, I'm relatively sure this is all well meant, but I'd prefer we speak about something else, if you don't mind.
Now, look, Miss, whatever your name is. This is absurd. I'm attempting to conduct a civil conversation.
Oh, you're attempting to test me. Trying to tempt me into having a pleasant conversation with a stranger, which is in direct contradiction to our instructions.
Well, that is equally absurd.
Another possibility is that I'm testing you.
I beg your pardon?
I know your name. I know what you do here. I know your attitudes toward a certain sort of individual. I know all those things about you, and yet you know nothing about me. And so, if I am testing you, I believe you've failed.
By the way, I have a strawberry birthmark on my left buttock. Just want to make sure you're completely in the know.
All right, you men, let's go. Brisk pace. Let's see you move. Move it. Get those knees up. Come on. Move it. Move it. Come on. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's go. Let's see it. Move it. Come on. Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up.
I'll stick with it. I'll stick with a T.
You call this tea?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. My name is Willoughby, and I'll be in charge of this group until further notice. Well, the gentleman behind me is Mr. McCallion, and he'll be giving you instructions on some specialized matters. And undoubtedly, Mr. McCallion will be able to explain those matters to you better than I.
Over the next few months, you'll be called upon to master a vast number of skills. Now, some of these, of course, you're already acquainted with. Others you'll be acquainted with in due course, as our training is scheduled to proceed in a way...
You dirty swine!
Everybody get down! Get down! What's happening? Out on the floor! Someone after her! Wait, who was it? Someone come with me. Come on.
Hold it! Hold it! Don't anybody move. Stay right where you are. Right. Well, what you've just witnessed is a very good example of what you'll be learning here. Deception and deceit. Right. Everybody back to their places. Well, come on now. Come on, move. And don't talk to each other.
All right, 20 seconds from now, I want a written description of the person who fired that gun at McCallion. How many shots were fired? What did the person say? And what kind of a gun was used? Did the person fire all the shots from the gun, or was there still ammunition left in the magazine? Now you've got 20 seconds, so hurry. Hurry!
My notebook is gone.
Final question. Did the person who fired the gun take anything out of the room? While all of you were looking for cover.
Is there anything else missing apart from the notebook belonging to,
My operative name is Madeline.
I'm sorry?
Madeline.
Madeline. Well, Madeline has just learned the basic platform of our curriculum. Diversion. Deceit. And deception.
Troops at Dunkirk will now be attacked from the west. Operation Dynamo.
Good to see you again, Bill.
It's good to see you, too, Bill. But didn't we decide it was too risky for us to meet here?
Sure it is. But I was definitely not tailed coming here. And I have to make a decision, but quick.
Tell me.
First, You tell me about Dunkirk. Obviously, the president is delighted that so many troops got away. But what about all the equipment they left behind?
Well, of course, it was a disaster. The British newspapers played it up as a great victory, but Churchill soon brought everybody down to earth by saying we'd suffered a humiliating defeat.
Austria, Czechoslovakia, Poland, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Holland, and now France, all gone. What's to stop Britain falling into the net?
Not very much, I'm afraid, Bill. But they still have to cross the Channel. So now we have to wait and see if they can knock the RAF out of the air before they try that. And we have information about the divisions and the shipping they're assembling, but...
The president is constantly advised by Ambassador Kennedy in London. The British will soon give up. What does Churchill say?
Never. But he's realistic about the possibility of invasion. And if it does come, he'll ask the president for bases over here for the Royal Navy. So if we are overrun, we can still continue the fight from here. And this outfit will be more important than ever. The more countries that is followed up, the more important will be the resistance groups that we're forming, which hopefully you will be supplying.
Roosevelt is convinced that if Britain goes under, it won't be long before this country is attacked. God knows from which direction. Apart from sentiment, he looks upon Britain as our front line, and he wants to do everything he can to help you survive.
Well, fortunately, American public opinion is right behind us.
No, I wouldn't be too sure. Last night at the Waldorf, the heads of some of our biggest corporations, I'll give you their names, had a private dinner for Hitler's Minister of Supply. Already they're selling Britain short and looking for orders from Hitler's Europe.
What can Roosevelt do?
This evening, I shall recommend he stick his neck out one more time. This time, he'll really be risking impeachment. Bill, I think you can take it. He'll lease you those 50 destroyers you've been asking for, and just for good measure, he'll throw in a large amount of Army hardware and ammunition.
God bless you, Bill. God bless you. This is really a lifeline. This calls for celebration. Tell me, did you manage to find out anything about that Danish scientist, that Niels Bohr?
Einstein told me we shouldn't worry about him.
Oh, why not?
Oh, he's a dedicated pacifist. Completely apolitical and neutral.
Guns are neutral, too. It all depends whose hands they're in. Thanks again, Bill, for everything. Now it's up to us to get more agents ready for the continent.